My talking brought me here." He was a very pious person, and everybody in the village respected him very much. He talks very less most of his time spent in worship. Except for offering prayer, he never comes out of his home. On the contrary, he married a querulous and an ugly fat woman. Most of the time people listened to her complaints against her husband, but the husband never uttered a single word against her. That was a strange pair. On one side was a diamond, and the other side was a buffalo. And definitely a buffalo can't judge the worth of a diamond. People sometimes thought that his excessive worship was a cause of overlooking her, and a source of patience against all the oddities. Even that was a cherry on the cake. God has given them a boy, and he took after his father in appearance, and everybody around in the village was very happy about that. As time passed, her quarrelsome behavior became more intense, and his worship became more intense too. Their son, after getting education, had to go to the city for a job, and both of them refused to go with him as their roots were here in that village. Now they have become old. All night standing worship and less eating made the man weaker day by day. Nobody was there to attend to them for their day usage. Bringing drinking water and edibles were becoming more difficult for them. Then a neighboring family took pity on them, asked one of their sons to dedicate himself for their services, and stayed in their home. After some days, the boy realized that man was not an ordinary person as he looked. On the contrary, he listened to him talking to someone in his room, about which he strictly ordered him not to get entered without his permission. One day the boy heard that the man ordered someone to do their duties carefully, and no negligence would be accepted in this matter. On the other side were some grunts. Last night one family slept hungry, and nobody among you provided anything to them. The cobbler was in great need of his daughter's marriage, and nothing was provided to him. The young man never saw any person entering and coming out of that room. The next night he listened to the old man ordering anybody to go and help a poor widow with some necessities, as there was nobody in the world to help her except God, and he chose us for certain duties to be fulfilled. The next day, the young man decided to go and check himself if she had been given anything or not. He just went to her home and stood there the whole day, and to his surprise, he saw in the evening a person entering her home with commodities. He came back to the old man's house, and he asked him where he had been the whole day, as he had not seen him for a long time. He said that he had an urgent piece of work and had to go there. The old man smiled and went to his room, leaving the young man a little embarrassed. The young man was now assured that he was a saint of his time. He started listening to these orders off and on, and had become more attentive in his duties. He discussed all these things with his father, and he advised him to remain silent, and must not discuss these things to anyone. 5 years later, the young man married, but twice he came to the old man's house and provided the needs. One day the old man called him and gave him a big bowl. He said to him, "Look, son, you served well and quite long. Take this, and whatever you need, just speak, it will be there." "Then why don't you take things in such a way like that?" the young man asked him. He smiled and said he was not allowed to. When he was in need, God had sent the young man. "And one more thing, son. These are big responsibilities and difficult to handle. Don't discuss this with anyone, or the bowl will disappear, and you will suffer from a big loss as well." The young man was a good person and used it when he was really needy. Otherwise, he went to his job and lived by what he earns. Then one day, the old saint died. The whole village attended his funeral, but the young man was sad more than anyone else. He seethed as if his own father had died. The time passed, and one day, when he was remembering the old man with his wife, told he about that thing with his wife. He told her not to discuss that bowl with anyone. But one thing is certain. The thing which you can't conceal to yourself, you can't expect anyone to conceal. She tried best not to discuss it with anyone, but one day when she had no more control to conceal it anymore, she, in gossip, told one of his neighbors the secret of the bowl they had and got whatever they wanted, after she realized the mistake she had made. But the arrow had left the bow. Now bad luck started to fall on them in a series. The bowl became an ordinary one. The man asked his wife if she had disclosed the secret to anyone, and then started weeping and confessed that it was her tongue slip. The man cursed her and himself that why he had to her. Whatever they wanted to do, it became vice versa. The job was gone, and sickness seemed to be the companion of that home which never left them. First they sold their home things, and then slowly they sold their home. Even then, the curse did not leave them. Now they were in a cottage, and things came to their worst. For many days they remained hungry. One day, when that cursed man was sitting outside of his cottage, a friend of his happened to pass by. When he saw him in that condition and asked him what had happened to them, he started weeping and said, "My talking brought me here."